Hello and welcome back to Full Throttle, the no-break show defending British drivers in association with the Alliance of British Drivers, right here on Unprecedented TV. I'm Paul Naylor, Communications Director for the ABD, and alongside me is my co-host, Brian Gregory. Every episode we hit the accelerator on the issues that motorists face: sky-high fuel costs, net zero nonsense, dodgy enforcement, and let's be honest, the absolute war zone our roads have become thanks to endless potholes wrecking tyres, suspensions and tempers up and down the country.
And today we've got the absolute legend who's spent over a decade battling those craters head on. He's the man who measured them, photographed them, floated rubber ducks in them and drove a tank to Parliament to make his point and forced council to spend millions fixing what they've ignored for years. Even after stepping back from full-time campaigning last year for family reasons, he's still the nation's go-to expert and still watching those roads like a hawk. Please welcome the one and only Mark Morrell, aka Mr. Pothole. Mark, brilliant to have you on Full Throttle, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. So we've got quite a few questions, but I thought before we start with those questions, I did a bit of a study on this a little while ago. It's about 3 years out of date, but not much has changed in the last 3 years. And if it has changed, it's got worse rather than better. So if we can flash up these slides, the first one shows that, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So above the line are the expenditures on taxation from I can barely read it: excise duty, fuel duty, company car tax, all the rest of it. So that's above the line, and below the line is the expenditure on railways, national roads, local public transport, local roads, and parking. And you can see that, in say 1998, the taxman was really benefiting because the expenditure on infrastructure was relatively low, sort of about 10 billion or something, and the tax revenues at that stage were 35 billion. But as things have gone on, the expenditure, the income, has not really gone up that much, but the expenditure has really ballooned, and most of it isn't on roads, not on strategic roads. It's on railways, which seem to get a disproportionate amount of taxation for the number of passengers that they carry, and the expenditure on the national roads, local public transport, local roads and parking has actually stayed pretty much the same, but the income for government has massively ballooned. So we're not really getting good value for money, and a lot of it's being wasted on what I would argue to be not very efficient public transport outside of major cities. And drivers are certainly not seeing the benefit of paying nowadays something over 50 billion in all up road taxes of one kind or another, VAT and all the other road user taxes. Most of it's not going into roads. So that needs to be corrected. Right, okay. If the next slide shows what's happened to traffic densities, and what you can see is that the traffic densities on A roads, motorways, has gone up quite dramatically between 1976 and, well, this was 2016, but the trends continued. And all other roads, the sort of housing estate and industrial estate roads, traffic density has not changed very much. So that most of the strategic traffic that's on all these major roads, traffic density's gone up. The road network's not being expanded massively, certainly not for trunks and strategic roads. So that's why we've got so much congestion. And of course, that also means more road damage for major roads. And then the final one is sort of showing where the road investment's gone. And what's happened really is that you can see we've had the first column shows motorways, traffic length increase, traffic growth. Well, we've had about 1,500 kilometres, about 1,500 kilometres of motorway increase since 1976. And the amount of non-trunk roads has increased by 62,000 kilometres, right? Essentially, the kilometre length increase per percent of traffic growth increase for non-trunk roads is 248 kilometres per kilometre, 248% increase in length per percent traffic growth. A roads, it's 3.4. Motorways are 3.7, and overall, I can't read it, but it's quite. I can't read the text. Never mind. But the point is, the roads we've been investing in are industrial estate and housing estate roads, and there's been a significant expansion there. Some of it probably not the greatest quality. I suspect a lot of it's been done down to a price rather than up to a quality. And strategic roads, of course, we haven't really expanded them at all. So traffic congestion on major roads is endemic now. Anyway, that's just sort of the background for the last 30 years.
There you go. That's the last 40 years plus this 10 years that aren't counted for. That's all accounted for in there.
Yeah. So anyway, go on, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, Mark, the first question that we've got here was quite a nice, light-hearted one. I hope. But what pothole incident was the first that turned you into Mr. Pothole? What was your last straw, basically?
Right. Well, I've never called myself Mr. Pothole. That's what the media called me.
And I find it very offensive, he says.
My attitude is call me what you like as long as you fix the roads, to be honest. It doesn't matter. A lot of my previous sort of inhibitions have long gone after all the filming and things I've done of lining roads and all sorts of things. Anyway.
Absolutely.
I took my daughter to drive, and there was a pothole on an A road through a little village called Farminghoe, and it was in a position where people were trying to straddle it to avoid it going on over the white line near a bend,
right,
which is obviously potentially dangerous. So reported it to then the Northamptonshire Council, County Council. Nothing happened. Chased it up, nothing happened. Eventually got so dismayed about it that I got hold of the contracts manager for the service provider for them, because the inspector couldn't hand me on the phone. So I spoke to them and said, basically, if you didn't get it repaired over the weekend, on Monday morning, I will ring the police to report it, because if there's an incident there, someone got killed or injured, I couldn't live with myself. So Monday morning, she went to college. When she got to college, he rang me to say, no, it's still there, Dad. So I did what I said. I don't make threats, I make promises. So I rang the police, explained the situation. They understood. I didn't want to waste their time, explained all of what could happen. Surprise, surprise, 2 hours later, they're out repairing the road. So I thought, okay, fair enough. Then there was another few incidents because the road was failing in that area, and eventually it sort of become aware of just how bad the roads were. So I started a small campaign. I knew nothing about social media. I learned from the children, but very powerful tool. I would never achieve what I've achieved without it. So started a small Facebook group. Next thing I'm getting hundreds of followers. I'm in the local newspaper, and that's who called me Mr. Pothole, and it stuck. Then I'm in national newspapers. Then I'm doing a documentary called Pothole Britain. And I took a tank to the Department of Transport because my friend owns tanks a lot, which he's got over 350 military vehicles. He does filming and all sorts of stunts.
I think he's been on TV a few times.
Furious there. And part of the documentary, I mean, Channel 5 were very nervous because they said, oh, are you going to have a march on Downing Street? I said, no, I've got something better because I've got to rely on others. This, I don't have to rely on others. And we obviously did the tank thing. The rights to that program got sold to Japanese television, and they do a program called the greatest television shows in the world, and they assess it, and they've got extracts from it, and they show, and it's quite interesting because I'm called the warrior against potholes, Mr. Okapoko in Japan, and I actually met some Japanese tourists who come to look at the Mercedes F1 team. Is Brackley where I live. They actually came down there, and one of the people recognised me, so it's just like surreal. 16 million Japanese watch me. So that sort of started off. I only started it for 6 months to see if I could make a difference locally. I never thought it'd be over 13 years and setting up a national day, National Pothole Day. I never thought I'd be on. I've been on every breakfast show, television show, documentaries, radio interviews, television, all sorts of stuff. Even done stuff for French television over here because they call us the Kingdom of Potholes. So it's gone to a different level. I submitted evidence to the Transport Select Committee inquiry when Lillian Greenwood was the chair, who was a very good chair. And I was hoping for a lot more from her when she got in power, but I'm sadly been let down with there. But my recommendations are part of that report, and it hasn't really changed because fundamentally the issues are about funding, training, poor quality works, supervision, poor contracts. There's a lot of things that are within there that could need to be changed, and it can be done. It just needs political will, and you're quite right about. The motorists and road users are being used as cash cows.
Oh, absolutely.
And I get this thing with, heavy goods are causing some of the problems, but they pay thousands of pounds in all sorts of duties and taxation, and we're everything, you know. And I also hate this thing between motorists and cyclists because we all have to use the road, and while you're infighting, the government are laughing, aren't they? I mean, effectively, if everybody pays tax in some sort that actually should be funding the roads, whether that's through your council tax, you know, and all the other things, VAT on bikes, that goes into the exchequer. So why could we're all involved here. And I think from my position is it's now got to a point where I was warned about this 13 years ago that we've got a pothole Armageddon on our roads.
Yes. Yeah, and I can certainly testify to that. I live on the Stockton-Darlington border, and our son lives in Darlington. And I can go along main roads, dual carriageway and main urban A roads to his home, or I can go by the back roads, which are, you know, through around the outside of Darlington, which is actually quicker. Well, except for the state of the roads, which are now absolutely dreadful. Potholes everywhere, breaking up from the edge of the road, potholes in the middle, not attended to for years. You know, it's criminal. From, you know, the thing that kicked this off you was that the pothole was in a position that was potentially criminal because it was causing road users to divert their course into a position where they could have an accident, and that's a crime, and you know, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, it's reported that one cyclist a week is killed or seriously injured as a result of potholes. Over 70 motorbikers are killed or seriously injured because of a result of badly maintained roads. And badly maintained roads, there was a report a couple of years ago saying that it was costing the economy £14.4 billion a year. Yeah.
And the backlog. I
don't understand why we're not investing to save, because out of that, in excess of £50 billion, 1% of that should be being used on our local road network. And I mean, the asset, I think England's valued at about £340 billion. So if you include Wales, I mean, the whole of the UK and the strategic road network, you're talking about £600 billion.
Yes.
But an old asset, you should be spending anything between 3 and 4% of the value of the asset each year maintaining it, and we're doing
absolutely. And that which at least should be ring fenced, and of course it isn't. It's all hypothecated. It just, you know, goes to climate aid in Rwanda and all the other stupid things that they spend on.
HS2.
Yeah.
Oh, don't start me on that one.
Over £100 million. What could that have done? For not only the road network, the hospitals and schools that are in a appalling state. That's where people want the money spent, not on a fast rail trek that's not going to be that fast, that don't go to the centre of London, goes from Old Oak Common to the outskirts of Birmingham. And it's a complete, I mean, it was always a white elephant. I mean, I did campaigning for it when I was on the town council in Brackley, because obviously wasn't afraid to go to Parliament because my sins, I cut off the gas supply of every MP in the country in one go for a gas emergency. And had to spend the next day going to apologise to all of them in St Stephen's House. It's Portcullis House now because they've and I had to go and see Black Rod and apologise. So, so they don't intimidate me.
Yeah.
So I did a petition with the town clerk and went to Parliament.
Yeah.
So
I never understood the logic of this, Mark, because all it was going to do was save a few quid or a few minutes for high rollers, traveling first class on this flipping thing. And as you say, if that money was spent across the whole economy, it could be more efficiently used. And the high rollers wouldn't even notice the few minutes, that they'd missed because they didn't get HS2, but they got a conventional train instead.
Surely the answer is, if you want to get there earlier, go on an earlier train.
Exactly. Well, the other thing is that it isn't necessarily dead time on a train, because you can use it if you've got Wi-Fi and things.
Yeah.
And arguably, with COVID, changed things dramatically. We're doing an interview that online, where in the past, when I had to do television, I had to go to the studios. I had to do all that. I can do it remotely. That's efficiency.
Yes.
So therefore, the whole case of that was the amount of lies that was told during that thing to get it through, and now it's all coming out. We got accused of all sorts of things when I was working on that with with groups across the country. But and I get this thing about, there's too much money spent now to stop it. Well, I don't agree with that, because if you spent 40 billion, that's no excuse to go and spend another 60 billion saying no. Stop.
No, exactly. It's just pouring good money after bad.
Yeah, it's first loss is the best loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not talking with people that I don't think understand the world outside of Westminster.
This is the problem, isn't it?
That's a huge problem with policymakers. Most of them don't go outside the Westminster bubble.
Yeah.
Don't even realise that there's 10 million, probably 60 million of us outside that bubble. Approximately, what's the Greater London, about 10 million or something now? Yeah. Crazy.
But there is an answer to the problem. It's just the government wants a commitment to do it, because what they need to spend is a minimum of, it's probably more than £3 billion index link year on year on resurfacing local roads. They then need to spend £1.5 billion, which is roughly what they spend to give the councils now on repairs and patching and stuff. But the other £500 million I think they should be spending is on training, better materials, better equipment. There's some really good techniques to doing works. And also, I believe there's a real massive role for AI and technology, because I think that these guys should be trained up, and part of their training is they take a photograph before they do the work. Yeah. When they've tack coated, they swept it out and tack coated and sealed it. When they put it in and compact it, they do about 5 photographs in 5 or 6 photographs, and the completion job. AI could then assess whether that's likely to be a good repair or a bad repair. So you don't have to have a supervisor flying around the country. You use AI to judge what they're doing there. I'm getting the area we're in. I don't think the government and authorities have ever been used to the fact that everybody's got a mobile phone with a camera. And the amount of people now that are really up in arms about the poor quality and the taxpayers' money being, I get loads of videos of extremely poor practice. There was one the other week where some guys were out repairing some potholes, and they were compacting the tarmac with a gas canister.
Probably a full one.
Well, that's right. I don't know about the risk assessment on that one. Rather than their number 9 boots, which is I did say on when I did an interview with Mike Graham that and Kelvin McKenzie, I think it's strictly potholes, because the guys dancing on the tarmac. I think there's a new thing there. Myself, I've done some bits showing people doing that. It gets quite a bit of attention.
Oh dear. Do you think with the weather conditions that we've had this winter, where it's been very wet, we've had a lot of rain, probably more rain than normal. Certainly, from my perspective, around where I live, and I live on the outskirts of Stoke, the roads around here have become shockingly bad. There's a lot more potholes. Are they saying that the potholes are a lot worse than they were as a result of the weather? Is that the case? Do you think that is the case?
It does have an impact, but surprise, rain doesn't affect well-maintained roads. It's only because the roads have not been maintained to the standard. So you get cracks and fissures in the tarmac. If the water gets in there, obviously if you get frost, that breaks it down. But you don't need frost. The vehicle going over causes hydrostatic pressure into those cracks, and eventually it breaks down. A well-maintained road doesn't get affected nowhere near as much. So if it was the bad weather, why isn't every road like it? And if you look at the M6 and the M6 toll road that roughly run in the same sort of area, get affected by the same sort of weather, which one's in poor condition, which one's in better condition? Because it gets funded better, because obviously it's a toll road. So I get fed up with this thing about the weather. Yes, it does have an impact. I use the analogy of a wooden window frame at home. If you rub it down, paint it every 5 years and keep on top of it, it will last forever, more than UPVC. If you let it go and you have to then have problems with it, you have to then cut out sections and replace replace sections and do more work. If you let it go enough, the whole window frame needs replacing. And that's what's the same with our roads. The wearing surface, which is the top 40 to 50 mil on a road, that provides a lot of the grip values for vehicles, braking and handling, generally lasts 20 years. If you look at the alarm survey report that came out last week, the average is 97 years before your road will be resurfaced. So it doesn't take anybody with any sort of ounce of sense to realise why our roads are failing, and failing fast. And with the thing of the weather, that just accelerates it. I did some work on AI. There's a free app called Stan, the app that people can download on their phone. You can put it in a mount in your car and it surveys a road. And it's good. I mean, it picks up defects. And myself and a number of my followers and people around the country downloaded it, and we cover 10% of the network of the UK. Right. Which is a good idea, a good sample. Now that included rural and urban environments. Based upon those figures, I did an article saying that was 11.5 million defects on our roads. Now, all of those defects that was picking up 2 years on have got worse, and with the increased rainfall, they're the seeds that have grown into the pothole problems we've got at the moment. And that's really where we are. But I said there is some answers to it, and I get this fed up with politics, because I get Conservatives blaming Labour. I try to work with all of them. But when they're in opposition, they want to know. When they get in power, it's far too difficult. Don't want to do anything about it.
It's an easy thing to say, oh, we'll just put off road maintenance. It's not that important. And then of course you've got a rolling problem that's just snowballing as it goes on. And it's like a topic that, as you say, the major parties are interested in when they're in opposition, but when they're in power, it's an Aunt Sally sort of a thing that they're not. Don't bother me with that. Kind of attitude. I think really. The other question I wanted to ask: do you think there's been actually a lowering of the quality of the road surfaces that are being applied? Because the nearest major road to me is the A66 dual carriageway that runs from Middlesbrough, past the back of our house, 700 yards back, across to Darlington. And that road, I mean, we've lived here for many years, and the road surface used to be fine for years and years and years, but recently they did a resurface, and within about 5 years, they're doing it again. I'm thinking, well, the quality of that road cannot have been as good as it was previously, because previously it was decades before they had to do it, and now it's every 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, good old-fashioned hot rolled asphalt that's expensive, but it lasts, it's more durable. Now, there's issues because there's obviously things with some of those materials may have been carcinogenic, but one of the big things is going to this medium sort of density material that are used in parts of Europe because it's cheaper. So if you're going to put something cheaper, it means you need to replace it more often. But if you ain't going to put the money in, you can't do that. I'll give you an example of another pet hate of mine is road markings. Lack of road markings. How autonomous vehicles are going to cope with potholes and the road markings and signs that are dirty or discoloured or whatever. But they use the cheapest material that's approved to use on the highway. There's a product that's 50% dearer. It lasts 3 times as long.
Well, that's more cost effective.
So the labour to get to site, the traffic management, all those costs, and the actual labour to paint it, and you save pennies on the paint. and then it means that it doesn't last as long, so you're back again. So from an asset point of view, there's no engineering for value that I can see. They need to invest in those things and say we need to take a long term, like they do in Japan, 25-year plan.
Yes.
Another one of mine is when they resurface roads and you get the joins between lanes. Now, they stagger the joints to try and make the joints last longer. Okay. But there is a technique that can rejuvenate roads. It's called a thermal heat treatment. So you put a canopy over a pothole, for example, in an area. It heats it up. You lift it off. You don't think it's happened. You get a rake. It's like soft butter. So they actually put a top-up material in it and then compact it correctly with a vibrating roller, because a lot of the vibro plates that they use on some of the... It's okay for a small pothole. On the other ones, you don't get the compaction level. We definitely don't get the number 9 boot. And I've had repairs carried out over 10 years ago in the town near a bus stop, which gets a lot of load for its braking and turning.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Repairs have lasted. Now, you can do that on those joints. So you do away with a joint because you bond and get rid of it, so you don't have a joint, which is a failure position.
Yes.
It just needs that engineering for value. There's that mindset just isn't there.
I cannot understand the attitude, because about 80% of the goods and services that are transported around the economy are travel by road. Rail's a minor contributor. So we really, if we want the economy to run efficiently, we need the roads to be in good quality so that the economy can do that. Yeah.
It's just that lack of understanding of what it does. I mean, it's the blood supply system for the UK economy, and they ignore it. And I've had arguments with councillors before saying, "Oh well, we have to spend the money on our statutory responsibilities, which is social care and children." And I agree totally with that. I do understand that. But I have to tell them that you've got a statutory responsibility under Section 41 of the Highways Act. Yes, you have. But now with I have successfully used part of the Highways Act. Now, Section 41 is a responsibility for the Highways Authority to maintain the roads safely. They use Section 58 to turn down your claim, saying we got a fair and reasonable inspection museum and repair thing, and they get your claim out. You get all these nonsense about, I can't claim because of the paints around it. You can, because if they said they're going to repair it in 7 days and you hit it on day 15, you've got a claim. Also, if they haven't inspected their roads, and they only get a 2-week tolerance, so if they expect it on the 1st of March and they don't do it till the 1st of April, you've got a claim. But they play games with that because But anyway, so in terms of how that's done, there is, and I've used it successfully, and I've helped people, and it's growing. Is a thing called Section 56 of the Highways Act. Now, it's been used by the Ramblers Association for years. Now, I'm a sod for detail, put it that way. So I did some research in there. Anyway, I wanted some legal advice to find out if it could be applied to carriageways and footways, Because in terms of going back to legislation, a way is the right of goods or passage. So the easiest way was to join the Ramblers Association. It cost me 30 quid for the year, which gave me access to the legal department. And I sent an email in saying, "This is what I believe. Am I correct?" And they come back and said yes. So that's
brilliant.
Cheap legal advice, wasn't
it? That's genius. Well done.
So, I used the templates of their notices and did formal complaints and issued some legal notices under that act that don't cost you any money, only the stampage, because you best to send it recorded delivery. Although the first time I did on National Pothole Day some years ago, I turned up at Northampton County Council's reception with the media, so that was a bit interesting. They would let me in, but they wouldn't let the media in, and that's been quite successful. And I've helped people around the country, and there was an instance where there was a small business, a small holiday park, we're losing customers because of the state of the roads, and they've been trying for years. But then the couple, the daughter and son of the original guy set it up. Were trying to do it. He tried before. They got in contact with me because I've been in one of the newspapers. I got some newspaper attention, helped them draw up a formal complaint suggesting that they was going to find themselves with a Section 56 notice issued on them. And in the letter they said that obviously I was advising them. And the next weekend they was out there doing the road.
Okay, so it does work.
Yeah, and then last week there was a court case for a gentleman in Hertfordshire who successfully went to court because they would never go to court with me if I've issued it or threatened to issue it. Even if I threatened to issue it in Oxfordshire, I got £830,000 for resurfacing work carried out.
Yeah.
And the same with a couple of other authorities, Buckinghamshire and things. And so it does work, but now we've got that precedent in terms of the court case where the judge basically says, because their barrister from the council was saying, oh, we've got a fair inspection regime, a repair policy, and blah, blah, blah. And the judge said, not interested in that. The road's out of repair. You've got 20 days to fix it. So that's powerful. So I've been inundated with people. So as I said, on social media, I don't have a website anymore because I did do that and I got attacked so many times. So I don't bother with that, wasting time and effort. I use social media. X is brilliant because you can tag in the council, MPs, whoever you like. And on X, I've got a retweet, but I've only got about 7,200, something like that, followers. But it's the Department of Transport. It's like Lillian Greenwood. It's like the media. Eamon Holmes, who's got over a million people there. So my retweet value is probably about 120 million people if they all retweet. But it's the media, you know, it's a bit like Chris Choi off ITV, Consumer, Matt Allwright, because they follow me and I follow them. So I think I've gained over the years sort of, I'm not just a nut complaining about potholes. I think that's the difference. So I've used that, but on Facebook, I've put details of exactly the process and a flow chart and examples of my letter of complaint, examples of notices I've issued. I've never had to get to stage 2, but excuse me, the gentleman last week did and proved it worked in court. Because if you get photographic evidence, if you do a freedom of information request and ask the council over the last 2 years how many repairs have been coming out, how many have been reported by whatever means, what repairs have been carried out, last time it was resurfaced, and what their opinion is of the condition of the road. With your photographs, then you go to court and say, would a reasonable person say this road is in good repair, or would a reasonable person say this is out of repair? And the term out of repair is what's used in the legislation. And I see that growing. Well, I've been contacted by over 20 people at the weekend. Prior to that, I've supplied information to people, and there's groups on Facebook, for example. There are groups all the way from Scotland to Cornwall now across the whole country. I've got access to all of those groups now, and I've been giving them information. So that is potentially now getting up to 200,000 people. So there's a pothole army growing. The people have had enough, and they feed me information. They send me stuff like that, and I give them advice. I'm now teaching, not in purpose. I've given them examples of good quality repairs. So I now get people critiquing, saying they haven't done this, they haven't done that, they haven't sealed it, they haven't compacted it. An army of informed people out in the field that's seeing it day in, day out. And I think that's great, where people have had enough now.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it is, as I said before, it's criminal when you travel around the roads. It really is. And it's unacceptable, given the amount of money the Exchequer is taking from road users, everybody. I mean, as you say, if you ride a bike or whatever, you pay VAT on it. If you buy an accessory for your car, it's going to be used on the road, and there's VAT charged on that. There's VAT on top of fuel duty charged on fuel.
I think that's criminal, because you shouldn't have a tax on a tax. But
no, absolutely, So it is time that the people actually exercise their democratic rights to put pressure on local authorities to do what it's their obligation to do.
Exactly. I mean, I get this thing between political parties, but when Conservatives in power and Labour keep saying, oh, it's down to Conservatives, I had to point out that I said I'm a bit one for detail. I read some back parliamentary papers. In the year 2000, the carriageway maintenance backlog in England and Wales was £3.75 billion. A then Labour roads minister wanted to put a 10-year plan in to eradicate that. But Tony Blair didn't go with it. So it's grown, and that's where nearly £19 billion now, because the network's getting older and it's not being maintained. So when you throw that back to Labour, they shut up a little bit, because you're all as bad as each other, and it doesn't matter who you are. We've got Liberal Democrats in charge over in Oxfordshire, and they're having a major problem over there. But they're rated at amber on the DFT's latest traffic light system.
Yeah,
but I can tell you that they ain't performing at amber. And I think Essex are green, but the groups in Essex that I've got access to don't believe they're particularly good in terms of what they manage in their network. It depends on. It's a new system. The idea is good, but and also it's open to interpretation. You need to tighten the rules. There's a number of things you could do, but there was an incident about 6-7 years ago. There was a lot of bridges being shut too near where I am. Anyway, there was pressure at government, and suddenly they released £250 million for potholes and bridges in November. Not the best time to do maintenance roads, but they had to spend it by the end of March. So they were spending money doing work, and they would do a thing called surface dressing, and it gets a bad name because it is a useful tool if it's done correctly, where they spray the tar on, put stone chippings, right?
Yeah.
I've had to pull them up where they haven't done enough in terms of spraying enough tar on there, skimped on it, so you can see the lines between underneath the actual tar. They're putting the stones on. Do they put the stones on correctly? Are they rolling them in enough before they open up to traffic? All those sort of things. But if it's done correctly, it's a useful tool. So they were doing it. But if they did it on a road that had a pothole in, and they repaired it and then surface dressed it, it's likely to fail, because what you need to do is a minimum of 6 months before you do that work, do any maintenance work of pothole repairs, a bit like the old-fashioned polyfiller. If you fill a hole in the wall, it sinks in a bit, you fill it up and then you decorate. So it's exactly the same with the roads. So, we had that. But I did some FIs asking for the submissions from some of the authorities and what they put in to get this extra funding. And I think Hans Christian Andersen wrote quite a few of them, because they were definitely fairy tales from reality. So now, Department of Transport was supposed to audit where that money went, and they never did. So they gave out £250 million of taxpayers' money to authorities to spend. How much got spent on roads? Who knows? How much was well spent? Probably 90% of it wasn't spent as efficiently as it should have done. I think that's the best way of saying it.
Very interesting.
So there is things that can be done. There's some brilliant techniques out there. The Pothole Pro is a brilliant bit of kit for the JCB, because it does some work. I mean, James Harper is probably the most famous pothole repairer in the world. He's on social media, called Highways Harper. He was at Stoke City Council, and I wished I could clone him and his team, because they were on it. I mean, I did film BBC, and I did a few other things with them up there. They did 7 years work in 12 months.
Wow.
Now, that was because they're local guys, not subcontracted or contracted out, service provider. They had some pride in what they were doing. One of the older gentlemen there, who was a bit anti it at first, but because it was change. But now, because his job was doing the tack coat and making sure it was all done. It was took all the hard work for him, and that's a useful tool, but you need to back it up to do the job correctly. But there's a thing called Road Mender, which is a really good technique, and it uses recycled tyres as well within that. And it's put in a sort of a hot masticky material, so you can fill a pothole with it, and then you can overfill it. And if you've got cracking and crazing around it, which is going to be where the next pothole is going to appear, you can put a float over it. And they've done one not far from me on a bend, so it gets high loading and braking near a roundabout. That was done over 6 months ago, and that's as good as the day it was put in, and it's had all that rain and the traffic and the freezing. So there are some really good things. Thermal repairs, I mean, there's a catalogue of things that, they should be doing, rather than, what I see with 2 men in a bucket of tar and threading it in, which is that's because they're firefighting. I think they've got so many potholes now, they've gone out to contractors and they don't care who they are, just go and fill some holes. So we repaired it, so we ain't got a legal claim. The fact is, failed in 2 days or a week. Unless someone re-reports it and all that sort of stuff. So, it is. And also, the definition of what was a pothole, years ago, it was 40 mil in the carriageway depth, 20 mil on a footpath, and it had to be a certain size, sort of 150, 200. Now, some councils on rural roads won't action anything unless it's over 100 mil deep, and it's got to be at least 300, 400 in diameter. And they all do different risk assessments now. And you can have one authority, so a section of road goes from one authority to other, and there's different inspections, there's different intervention criteria. Lottery. I think that's criminal. So one of my things in my submission was there should be a standardised thing. The 40 mil and 20 mil came from legal cases in Liverpool. I think it was in the 60s. But that was changed to well-maintained roads and a risk assessment basis, because I think a risk assessment to me is the likelihood of something happening and the impact. Now, it seems to be how much money we've got. So how can we adjust our risk assessment to cover our backsides?
Looking at it completely out of selfish reasons rather than actually helping anyone.
Yeah, the whole thing about cost-benefit analysis has been skewed to minimise the cost rather than maximise the benefit.
Yeah. Do you have any particular incidents that stand out in your mind for being ones that you were particularly proud of or are memorable for a particular reason?
There was I've got some YouTube videos up. I mean, because it's me on my own, it's been hard. If I'd have had someone else with me all the time, sometimes I had people with spotters, but more up. But there's some examples of successes I've had. But one sticks in my mind. There was a little hamlet called Crowfield, which is near Silverstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the people were complaining for years. I went down there and reported potholes, and they kept repairing it. I threatened to issue legal notices on there, and it got resurfaced. Now, there was no footpaths in this hamlet, and there was an elderly lady there who broke her hip, so she was having to exercise with a walking frame. Her friend was taking her to a nearby village that had footpaths so she could exercise. Well, we had a street party on Christmas Eve, just as they were finishing the works with it. I got invited down there and all that, which was very nice. And the lady said to me, she'd been horrified about the state of our roads for the last 20 or 30 years. She gave me a big hug and a kiss and thanked me. Someone sent me a picture, one of the residents I did some work, who was the main lady there, Sally. She sent me a picture of her on Boxing Day, able to exercise on a walking frame outside her house.
Yeah.
That's the human side.
Exactly. Yeah. And this isn't what, this is what people don't appreciate, It's the knock-on effect to what you're doing.
But also, there was a couple that couldn't sell their house because the road was blighted. Yeah. And I helped them, and the road got repaired, and they sold their house. There was another couple at a bungalow that had a severely disabled daughter, and the bedroom was at the front because of access things. And there was a hole outside in the road. Now, during the day, it was fine because no cars were parked there, so people would avoid it. Overnight, with cars parked either side, couldn't be avoided. So the boom was disturbing. And now she had all sorts of medical issues.
Yes.
So they tried reporting it. They tried the council. They tried the MP. Anyway, eventually caught hold of Mr. Pothole. Mr. Pothole went up there and took photographs and created a pain and got hold of the contracts manager and got hold of social services saying this is out of order, blah, blah, blah. Surprise, it got filled the next day.
Yeah.
That's the human impact, really, not the grandiose things. I mean, the tank and all those sort of things.
No, it's not. It's the minutiae. It's really
because I mean, the most I've got someone out of a claim, which I've never set out to be for claims. I give advice, but that's not what I was in it about. £1,300 damaged on I think it was Highways England at that time because they keep changing the name. But I mean, a third by any other name in it, I mean, they keep changing the name, but you haven't changed it. So we did freedom of information requests. When I got the data sheet, which says start at this time, finish at this time, right? They're supposed to do an inspection at no more than 50 mile an hour. Supposed to do it in good lighting conditions, double-handed, Yeah. When we got the sheet, it was inspected the December morning at about 7:30. And I looked at the rain, and it was rainy because I looked at the weather forecast and worked out the elapsed time from start of the data sheet to the completion of the data sheet. They would have been doing 82 mile an hour if that was correct. When that was all pointed out to them, they checked them for £1,300. It was a cafe survey.
Yeah.
The only thing that was a bit disappointing is he was due to do the guy was all up for being filmed when I was doing a documentary. But when he got the check, he didn't want to go on television, which fair enough. I mean, but, but that's just the way things, you know.
Yeah.
I've had a complete road resurfaced, and when I was visited site, I had one of the residents come out complaining he had to turn right rather than left. And I think I'm getting your whole road resurfaced, and that's all you've got to complain about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
You're welcome.
Done, you know, you have to accept these things, you know.
Yeah.
But there's loads of things. I see poor practice in terms of when they ironwork, which is the bit, you know, around drains and manhole covers, or what they're called now, vehicle, people access covers, whatever they call them.
Yes,
yeah.
People access.
If you just do general tarmac around it, that will fail. The best thing you can do is they then come back, cut around it, and they put in a dense matchstick because it's more expensive. But then that helps with the expansion and contraction of the ironwork and the road, less chance of failures.
Yes.
So there's lots of things there that, you know, you really say, if you're highways engineers, why aren't you engineering this for value? It's all about cheap, that cost. Well, I think the Institute of Highways Engineers should come out with a guide to all of the types of repairs. They're supposed to be the experts.
Yeah.
I mean, I can probably write it myself, but I'm not am I an expert after 13 years on the subject?
Yeah.
And I could, you know, not all repairs, there's no one panacea, there's no holy grail. It's like a toolbox. There's different things with different things, but there's a lot of things that could be done far better. And I think educating the public as these people now, as this momentum's growing, is making it very difficult for councils, because now they're going, I know I've had a couple of instances where they've gone to the councils asking why they haven't done this and why they haven't done this. And that, so it's almost like, we've got an informed community.
Yeah, which makes it very difficult for them to sort of squirrel out of problems and try and duck them. Yeah, which is great, because they need to be held to account. Yeah.
As well as potholes, Mark, do you have any issues arising with speed humps? Do you ever have anything regarding that?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is some of the speed humps is where they place them. You do wonder about why they're trying to do it, particularly in some of the urban environments. But the other thing is when people drive over the shoulders of it and erode the sides. I know someone who drove over it trying to avoid it, and there was a pothole to the sort of at the side of where the speed was, and it damaged the inside wall of their tyre. Now, fortunately, they had a blowout on a slow speeding road, not on a fast road. So,
well,
you know,
we produce a regular magazine, and one of the letters that's been sent in to us for this next issue is about a speed hump. So can I just quickly read this one to you and just see what your thoughts are on it? Yeah. So this person wrote, I live on a relatively busy B road in Carmarthenshire that has a ludicrous 20-mile-per-hour limit. The limit is ridiculously low, and as a consequence, most people ignore it. In fact, most people now drive above even 30 miles per hour. The ridiculous limit meaning that they now feel speed limits in general are invalid. Instead of lifting the speed limit back to 30, our corrupt left-wing council, this is their words, is now installing humps, centre islands and cycle lanes to physically obstruct the road. Can you give me any advice, support in getting these obstructions removed? In particular, I live right by a new hump, and the road noise has dramatically increased, from the crashing of metal when lorries and trucks go over the hump to the noise of air brakes as they decelerate to negotiate it. It is interfering with my ability to enjoy my home. Has anyone successfully got one of these ridiculous obstacles removed?
Right. My suggestion to them is go to make a formal complaint of noise.
Yeah.
As a noise complaint, because it's interfering with their quality of life. It's been put in there, and it's now interfering with their life. So that's where I would go along there. Using
noise pollution. Noise pollution. Yeah. And who would they complain to about that? Was that
the environmental services within the council?
Yeah. Okay.
And request them to come out and explain it to them.
Yeah.
And it's detrimental to their life, and under their human rights, they're entitled to a peaceful night's sleep.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, there you go. You might have just helped
with that pothole where the disabled young lady, or girl was with a family.
Yeah.
And that seemed to have worked quite well.
Brilliant. You might have just helped our member Johnny Jackson out there, so I shall let you know. But thanks for that. Yeah.
Right. We've covered, I think, most of the topics, but what's your, well, I mean, I think we all know qualitatively, but what do you feel about, the state of the roads in terms of potholes now compared to when you started? Worse, obviously. Yeah.
Far worse. I mean, if you look on my social media, you'll see a graph where I've tracked the backlog from £3.75 billion up to the year 2020. The average, because it peaks and troughs, I averaged it out because it's easier to understand. The average backlog grew by £500 million. Now, between 2020 and 2025, the average backlog increased by £1.2 billion because the road assets getting older and all more traffic and everything like that. Last year, between 2025 and the new figures that come out in 2026, it's gone up by £1.8 billion.
Wow.
Now, that figures don't include the recent heavy rain for the last few months.
No.
Well, I predicted on air it will be about £2 billion next year.
Yeah.
And if you run it forward to 2030, we will be around £30 billion backlog. Now, that's just carriageways in England and Wales. Now, there's probably near a £7 billion backlog in bridge maintenance in this country. So if you include carriageways, footways, bridges, structures, drainage, street lighting, yeah, I believe we're currently sitting with a £30 billion backlog for total road maintenance in England and Wales, and it will go up significantly. And if we don't get hold of this, suddenly we're in a situation where I know there's a few councils that have had to put failed road signs up because we can see that going up in terms of only protecting themselves. I had to advise one of the councils because of it was that bad to tell them to put signs up and put speed restrictions in. They're saying, what? I said, you need to cover yourself because if there's a claim from there, you're aware of it. So I tried to be a critical friend.
Yeah.
And tell them what they need to do. And you're thinking, why am I telling you what to do? You should know what to do. The road becomes very difficult. But because I said they need to shut the road, I had another council say, can you tell us we need to shut this road?
Having to do their job for them. Yeah.
Well, it's easy because they say, if there's any stick about it, they can say, well, Mr. Pothole has been on and he's told this. I mean, I just think, it's only me. It's only me. I'm only just dyslexic kid from London.
But sometimes practical experience trumps academic qualifications and arrogance, I think, really, as well. Intellectual arrogance.
Yeah, I have no time for fools.
No, absolutely. And why should we have with issues like this? I mean, this has come to the stage where, it's costing a fortune in damage every year for road users.
It is.
And there doesn't seem to be anybody trying to get a handle on it. Why is it not treated as a safety crisis, do you think?
Exactly. You're quite right. But not only the safety, it's the financial impact. I mean, the whole thing, if you had a proper debate, now some of the television people have tried to get on me on with transport ministers or Secretary of State for Transport, don't want to know. And because maybe I know a little bit more than they do.
You tie them up in knots. Yeah.
And that's why they won't do that.
Yeah.
I did it with Patrick McLaughlin when he was the Secretary of State for Transport years and years ago. Anyway, I managed to get 4 questions on Sky, but it got cut anyway. But first of all, I said about the road backlog, and he said, "Oh, we're providing all this money, blah blah blah." And I knew that was going to be the stock answer, so that's okay. I said, "But you're Secretary of State, so the national, the motorway and strategic network come under you." Yes, I said, "Well, can you tell me why they're giving £350 million back in efficiency savings to the Treasury when there's potholes on the M40, A43, the M1, the M25? Oh, well, I don't know about that. And then they got cut off, but didn't like that one. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like the chief executive of National Highways who retired, not the current one, I'm trying to think his name. Anyway, whatever it was, I went to a conference because you get invited to some of these conferences, great talking shops, all talking about all this stuff, but really they need more money. But I mean, other than that, but I got the hold of the microphone and questioned him because he was saying about, it was National Highways at that point, or anyway, whatever. So I got questioned with him saying, if your roadwork's not so brilliant, I said, you came up from Guildford, where head office is. I said, can you tell me why the M40 Junction 10 roundabout's failing and falling to pieces? Surely you drove over that to get onto the A40 to come up to Silverstone. Oh, not what I saw. I said, well, I can give you a load of details of where your network's not particularly good, and I've made complaints about it, and you'll not do anything about it.
Yeah.
Oh. So anyway, that was it. When he was coming off stage, he had a couple of bodyguards, but I took one of my ex-councillors who used to play rugby, great big guy. Yeah. And he scooted off the things, and I had a bit of a chat with him.
Yeah.
You're going to expect a legal notice coming now. So I did a formal complaint, and then I issued a Section 56 notice. I got a response from National Highways saying, "Oh, about your complaint." I said, "No, it's only a complaint. It's a legal notice. You've got 28 days to come back to me to my satisfaction. Otherwise, we'll see you in the magistrate's court." But then COVID happened, so it all sort of dropped.
Yeah.
But they ain't even that clever because the legal notices. And then after that, to be fair, I got a programme of works from that junction that's all been resurfaced right the way through up to Toaster, which was the worst area, up until this year. I actually got invited out to have a look at the works being carried out by the contractors who are doing a good job. So that's sort of interesting. But I have to be a pain in the backside. I mean, when I was at work, coming from the tools, working as an apprentice up to a senior manager, and I was the operations manager in central London. I won the most gold awards for utilities works, including for reinstatement in City of London, City of Westminster. So I'm a bit worst nightmare as such, But I had a couple of nicknames: Martini Man, because I used to appear anytime, any place, and anywhere. And the other one was Hemorrhoids. But I never went away. Now, when I went to support portfolio holder at Northamptonshire Council to get extra funding, I was allowed to speak as a member of the public. I did say about the hemorrhoids thing. I said, but unfortunately for you, there isn't a cream in Boots that gets rid of me. You say you can't do something, can't you? All right.
And on that bombshell. Oh dear, that's been brilliant, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really interesting talking to you, and certainly we will start directing a number of our. We get website queries all the time about stuff like this. We'll direct them to your Twitter feed and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, I try to help people as much as I can. It's only me. I can't do the whole thing, but by these groups and helping them with understanding the legislation, what should be being done, I think it's quite good.
Yes.
I was offered the role of the Potholes czar on BBC Politics a couple of years ago. There was a Labour MP and a Conservative MP and the usual backfighting. But anyway, she said, "Oh well, if we get in power at the next election, we should be talking to Mark and blah blah." So Joe, is it Joe Coburn? She said, "Well, that's it. There's a job for you." I said, "If it was in their power to give it, would you?" I said, "No," and they were laughing. I said, "Because I want to get it done. I don't want to talk about it." If I would give input, I don't want to particularly be the Potholes czar because I can't do it because of family reason and even at the moment because I'm waiting for a heart procedure on Thursday.
Right.
But I can advise and give information. I would not entertain even having a one meeting. Well, I'd have one meeting, but I wouldn't entertain doing anything unless they committed to spending at least £5 billion a year, like I said. Other than that, don't waste my time.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I think that's fair as well.
I think that's a sensible starting point. You've got to nail them down and say how much money you're going to put out per annum. I know you're going to ring fence it and index link it.
That's it.
Well, I know you mentioned 2030, Mark. And extrapolating the figures down to there. The rate at which the roads are deteriorating, I don't think we've got 2030 in the road system, to be honest.
Within the alarm survey last week, it says that in 15, well, I think it came from the very previous one. In 15 years' time, 52% of our roads will be
Impassable, I suppose.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to get the term, but anyway, not fit for purpose. In terms of, I think that's coming forward.
Yeah,
I'd be right.
It's 10 years if you're lucky.
I would say 10 years. Yeah, I'd agree.
But on that note, gentlemen, I'm going to have to go. So
Thanks for your time, Mike. Really interesting. We'll invite you back in the not too distant future.
Not 10 years.
Thanks very much indeed, Paul. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you, Mark.
Bye-bye.